Hey, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. This time we're going to go over the top 16 of the Dallas Pro Play Tour event. Shouts out to Scott Slater and PPG for getting us this information. This layout is amazing. This information spread is absolutely amazing. I'm really interested to break it down for you guys. So before we get into this video, guys, if you're new to the channel, definitely hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the notification bell to stay up to date with all awesome Dragon Ball Super content that I post here. If you're looking for a Discord community, check that out in the description below. Amazing group of people, talk about your decks, get advice on the game, all kinds of things like that. And finally, guys, you're looking for a competitive edge on the game, or if you're looking to support the channel, check out the Patreon in the description below. Lots of good stuff there, lots of competitive content, and it really helps the channel. With that being said, we'll get into this top 16 breakdown. But first, we'll get across the general spread of the event. So total, there were 170 players. This link is actually on the Pro Play Tour Facebook group. I'll also link it in the description below down here if anyone wants to check it out. It is a Google Drive document, so you guys should be able to see it pretty easily. But yeah, so we have 170 players in attendance, and we've got the breakdown spread. We can see what decks were actually the most played, which I love seeing this information because it really paints a picture of how so many decks made it in the top cut, how decks didn't make it in the top cut, if they had low rep, if they had high rep. So we'll kind of talk about a few of them. The most highly rep deck in this event was starter deck Broly, which I find incredibly interesting with the Yellow Splash. With the Yellow Splash was the most highly rep deck of its own variation. There was also some Broly starter with the blue engine. That deck did not do so well. Then we had Skillless coming in at second place in terms of field rep. There was the yellow build with the most representation with 18 builds in the event. And then we had some blue, we had some red, there was also some yellow blue, and there's also some Kid Ku with Gogeta, which is pretty awesome to see. Then we had Gogeta Blue Veku Ramp coming in at 10 spots in Swiss, but no top cut representation, which is really interesting here. I think this is a really powerful deck. However, I don't think it's the correct format for this deck because you are facing a lot of tough matchups like Janemba Mill, you're facing tough matchups like Super Shenron, and you're facing tough matchups like Skillless. When you're playing a Gogeta Ramp, you want to see Broly starter deck all day. And the Gogeta players may have come across that, but it seems like they also ran into the Super Shenron players and the Skillless players because this deck did not do super well. Then we had Janemba Mill with the next most representation in Swiss and also a high representation in Top Cut, which we'll talk about later once we get to the general Top Cut breakdown. Super Shenron came up next, a couple more Kid Ku variants. Then we had Yellow Broly coming up in the next spot with the most rep in Swiss. Then we had Dende AOD with only 4 reps in Swiss. Not too much there, but that is kind of, it makes sense when you don't have access to the secret rare. I mean, the Broly starter deck, you can technically play that without the secret rare, although it's not as powerful. But yeah, AOD you can't play without the secret rare, so I can understand how that's kind of hard to get to. Then we had Pan Chain Attack Zeno with 4 spots in Swiss. Some more Super Shenron, some more Skillless. Then we had actually Shenron Buuhan, which is pretty cool. That deck, I mean, if you combine the Shenron Buu and the Shenron Buuhan, that deck had 6 slots full of rep. And then we had Red Gogeta, some more Broly, Golden Frieza with green, Lemon Lime Frieza, the classic deck that I love so much, did get 3 spots in Swiss. And then we come down here, we see some outliers. We got like Hercule, we have Dende Frieza, then we have Broly again and Chilai. Shout out to Eggman, which we will talk about a little bit later. Some more Skillless, some more Super Shenron. Lots of different Super Shenron variants down here with low amounts of rep, but I'm sure they were still very powerful nonetheless. And we had some Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta with Candy. There's so many cool different decks here that this information is just incredible to see. Thank you so much again to Scott and PPG for getting us this information. But with that being said, though, we will get into the top cut spread because that's what we want to see. We want to see what's impacting the meta. So firstly, we'll start off talking about green Broly with yellow. So the blue variant did not make it to the top cut. We've just been seeing that the green yellow build has had the most success so far. Mono green hasn't been cutting it. Blue green hasn't been cutting it. That yellow green with access to Bad Ring, access to Cold Bloodlust, access to Planet Vegeta, and Frieza Call had just been dominating, and it's been doing super well. I think this has definitely established its spot as the best variant of this deck by far, and it's one of the better counters to Super Shenron Height of Mastery, which in my opinion has kind of established itself as the best deck in the format. It's won several events at this point, and the deck's just incredibly impressive, incredibly powerful. But I do think Green Broly is one of the better counters to the deck because honestly, when Super Shenron does skip your turn, you get your Broly pops to reset, which is really important because you're basically what your deck does answers Height of Mastery, which is really powerful. And then you have like Shocking Death Ball for those dependable Gokus. It's just really good all around. I'm surprised not more of this deck made it in Top Cut, but yeah, that's what it seemed to be. Then we had 4 Skillless in Top Cut. Skillless is another deck that we just see. It tends to just dominate Top Cut no matter what event we're looking at. It did have a lot of representation in Swiss, but so did Broly with the yellow splash from the starter deck, but that deck didn't see nearly as much Top Cut representation. So really interesting how those two decks kind of saw a different rep in Top Cut, even though they saw a very similar representation in Swiss. So out of the Skillless builds, we had 1 yellow build, 1 mono yellow, which in my opinion is the best build in the format, because you have all the answers to the best decks, including Super Shenron Storm, including Broly starter deck. You have all the answers to those with Crusher Ball, Nimbus, things like that. Then we did have 2 blue good stuff builds, so Senzu Bean into your good blue cards. And then we had 1 Skillless Gogeta build make it in Top Cut as well, which I'm kind of surprised about, because that's more of a late game deck. And I feel like the meta is a little bit faster than that deck right now, but you know, it could just be an outlier. I think it's a little bit more of an outlier than anything else. Not taking anything away from that player. Congratulations to him, of course. And then we had 4 Janemba in Top Cut. This was very, very surprising actually, because about 2/3 of top sided TN, and Janemba's bad matchups were rampant here. I mean, any build of Super Shenron, which there are several in Top Cut, that kind of just wrecks Janemba, and Skillless is actually also a very poor matchup for Janemba. So it is very interesting that Janemba got so much rep in Top Cut. It didn't go too far, you know, into the top tables, but I think that Janemba players are kind of learning how to play around TN, because you definitely can do it. You know, if there's a turn you're expecting TN to come down, you have to play conservatively with your energy. You cannot afford to tap too much. You have to be able to play defense. So I do think Janemba players are starting to adapt to that. So congratulations to these players for getting into Top Cut here in pretty hard odds, I'll say. Then 3 Super Shenron. So we did have 3 different builds of Super Shenron in Top Cut. We had 1 pure Height of Mastery build, 1 Height Victory Strike build, and 1 blue yellow aggro build. The typical Storm aggro build did not make it in Top Cut, but no matter what, I think Super Shenron at this point has established itself as the best deck in the format. I think it's established itself as a deck you need to beat in this format if you don't want to play it. I do think it is that impressive and that powerful, and I think we saw that in the finals of this past event with Anthony Hernandez winning the event with Super Shenron Height of Mastery. I think the deck is just so powerful. I think the deck is just so far above the rest of the format that it's bound to keep winning until something comes out that hard counters it, or something happens to it via Bandai's side. I know it's a controversial topic right now. I know a lot of people don't want it to get hit. I know a lot of people do want it to get hit. So definitely feel free to leave your comments down below with your opinions on that. But then again, that was the deck that won the event. So I do think it is the best deck in the format at the current moment. So moving on, we had 2 yellow Broly in Top Cut. Very interesting here. This deck is slowly dwindling down in Top Cut representation as the events move forward. One of the builds was Broly Height, which I think Height right now is probably just the best win condition you can be playing, because it's got this factor of inevitability, right? Once Height comes down, you get tapped out, and if you don't have Sparking Negates, you're really probably not living. And in a deck like Broly Height, or a deck like Super Shenron Height, where they can manipulate their energy to a certain extent, you have access to Battering Laser. That's really just going to wrap up the game right then and there. So I do think the Height of Mastery is probably the best win condition you can be playing right now. I think if the format's not revolved around Super Shenron, I think the format is revolved around Height of Mastery at this point, and we'll talk about that in just a minute with some other decks that topped the event. So the interesting thing to note, I did look into this, the Broly Height deck was main decking 2 Shugesh, and then the other Broly build that made it in Top Cut was Broly GT, main decking 4 Shugesh. So actually a few players from Shenron's Lair did go into the event playing this deck, and you know, we didn't do so well with the Broly GT deck. However, another player did seem to do well with the Broly GT deck, mating for Shugesh. Must not have ran into Cronoa, because Cronoa was seeing a decrease in popularity as time went on. And you know, kudos to this player for playing the odds and coming out on top with it. Moving on, we had 1 Lemon Lime Golden Frieza make Top Cut, and if you guys have been following the channel for any you know, amount of time, I absolutely love this deck. I think Lemon Lime Golden Frieza is a really cool deck. There's a lot of combos you can do. You can draw a lot of cards. You can play a good amount of control with green for board control, green for hand control, and yellow for Cold Bloodlust, Battering Laser, Crusher Ball, Nimbus, the whole 9 yards, and Time Magic. Time Magic is actually a really important counter to Height of Mastery right now, because if the format does revolve around Height of Mastery, Time Magic is the hard counter to that card, especially if you're playing against Super Shenron build, because the way that Time Magic works against the Super Shenron Height of Mastery deck is the way that Time Magic's worded. When Super Shenron skips to the next turn, they actually won't be able to untap their Height of Mastery, because under Time Magic, that card cannot untap until the end of your next turn. So it's really important to know, really important to be aware of if you want to counter Height of Mastery. Yellow leaders are probably one of your better bets to do so, and I think Golden Frieza, Yellow Line Golden Frieza is a great pick for this, because this deck, it's not playing the Broly package from the dash pack that a lot of builds have been playing lately. It's actually just abusing Agent Destruction 13, and this card, if you guys haven't tested this yet, this card puts in a ton of work with this leader because you have so much energy manipulation that you get the most bang out of his activate main. If you guys don't know what he does, he's a 3-drop 20k critical Agent of Destruction, and he's a Super Android 13. And you activate main, pay 2 to blow up one of your opponent's battle cards, and then you discard a card. So the way that Golden Frieza can manipulate energy, you can do this so many times per turn because he's not a hard once per turn activate main. So you can just abuse the crap out of Android 13, and it's really, really powerful, really strong. It just puts you at an advantage card-wise over your opponent. Really, really powerful deck, and Time Magic and Nimbus and Crush Ball, all those yellow cards. I keep saying this, but yellow is probably the best color of this format. It's the most well-positioned color of this format because it does the strongest thing with Head of Mastery, and it also counters itself with Time Magic, with Crusher Ball, with Nimbus. It's just so good right now. And then finally, guys, we have a really, really good sleeper deck in Top Cut. Shout out to my man Eggman, part of the Super Tuber organization, for topping with Chi-Lai Height Victory Strike, and not only topping, making it into 3rd place in Swiss, and then top 4 at the event. Just so proud of him. It's so awesome that he took an innovative deck and just went super far with it. You know, it's so awesome to see that type of innovation, that type of gameplay from a fellow content creator who I really, really respect, and I think he does a great job with the channel. So shout out to Eggman again. So guys, that's a Top Cut breakdown. Just some of my thoughts on it. You know, I was really surprised by Janemba, not so surprised by Skillous, kind of surprised that Green Broly didn't see so much of Top Cut, but I do think that this deck will definitely resurge back into top. You know, I do think as more people get access to the Secret Rare, I think this deck will see even more rep, because it's very easy to build this deck outside of the Secret Rare, because it's just a few starter decks, and then you need a few very cheap cards from the main set, and then you have yourself a top contending deck that can kill on turn 2, which is really powerful. Again, surprised about Janemba, but yeah, if Janemba can play through Tien, which is really, really cool to see, it's just something that the deck can do very well if you know what you're doing. Super Shenron, I think it's the best deck going forward. I really don't see anything changing with this unless, like, the next cards we're getting are going to be the dual color cards and the World Martial Arts Tournament Power Booster. So unless that does something crazy to this deck, I don't really see too much changing here. I still think that Child's Wish is a little bit degenerate, and I am going to put a video out this week talking about Child's Wish, in case you guys are not tired of hearing me complain yet. But it's not really a complaining video, it's more just like an opinion video. But we'll get to that later this week. Yellow Broly, love to see it in Top Cut, but this is dwindling. I think more people start playing Shugesh going forward, and I think this deck will have a little bit more of a hard time, especially in the face of Super Shenron. Lemon Golden Frieza, really like it. Good counter to Super Shenron. Height especially, and Chi-Lai Height. Shout out to Eggman. I do think Chi-Lai is a great contender going forward. I've actually got my own Chi-Lai builds, actually blue-green, that is meant to counter the meta, so I will be profiling that later this week as well. So guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys enjoyed the Top Cut breakdown. Any comments, any questions, leave them down below. Let me know what you think about the event. Let me know what you think about the format. Let me know, guys. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Joey. This is Crossworld TCG, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Hey, welcome to the end card, and thank you so much for sitting through that, because honestly, I'm just doing this until they make a Digimon trading card game. So if you like Dragon Ball Super for some reason, give it a sub up above. Maybe check out some of our other content. And do not forget, Digimon is way better than Pokemon. With that being said, we will see you next time.